Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, How to Find a Job in Public Accounting. This is going to be a Q&A session. My name is Rachel Mitchell, and I am the Director of Business Development for TorontoJobs.ca, and I'm joined by Marc Belaiche, who is the President and CPA-CA of, President of TorontoJobs.ca and also a CPA-CA. So thanks so much for joining us at 6 o'clock on a Wednesday. We really appreciate it. Marc's going to share some amazing tips and kind of facts and updates in employment. And if you haven't heard him speak before, he is a dynamic speaker that knows so much about the employment industry. So you are in for a definite great hour of takeaways and advice and all things jobs and accounting. So welcome, Marc.
Thanks, Rachel. You're setting me up for failure here. The expectation.
Definitely not. Marc has been in recruiting for 25 years. He also is as I mentioned, chartered accountant. So he's worked for, one or two big four firms. One?
Yep.
Two?
One. Yeah.
One.
KPMG, yeah. Did the KPMG, did the medium-sized firm as well, with another now part of MNP, but one of the bigger firms for sure.
Absolutely. So we do a lot of recruiting for those of you that don't know what TorontoJobs.ca does. We are an online job board primarily. So we do have job postings on our website. We have recruitment services, and we do specialize. Quite a large number of our roles are in accounting and finance. So definitely, an awesome place to be if you're looking for a job, especially in accounting, because we do, have expertise. We specialize in accounting. We used to host a lot of live events and career fairs, and now we switched to doing virtual. So I did place a link in the chat box already for all of the upcoming events that we have. So we do have events in accounting. We have events in job search. So lots of exciting things that are happening outside of just doing webinars. They're a little bit more extensive than just Zoom, so that we host them on a different platform that has networking. We have sessions that we host and things like that. So definitely an amazing, we have a lot of amazing events coming up. So I did put the link in the chat again if you want to check out those events that we have going on. And I'm sure Marc's going to go through our recruiting, the different jobs we're recruiting for, how to apply and all that fun stuff throughout the course of his presentation. So I'll save that for you, Marc. Is there anything else I missed? I don't want to take up too much of your time in terms of your presentation. Anything I missed in terms of intro? I'm going to talk about some tech stuff with Zoom, just how people can ask questions and stuff, but did I miss anything?
No, I think you got everything. Yeah, we're going to cover a lot of good stuff today. So
yes, definitely. Yeah. Marc is all things stats. He collects a lot of employment stats too, so he's going to fill you in on what's happening in the market. But I just want to mention before I sign off, we are going to do a Q&A period. So towards the end, I don't want to commit to a certain amount of time, but towards the end, we'll be taking all of your questions. So if you could place your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. I will monitor them throughout the course or throughout the duration of the presentation. So if you have any questions, I can try to answer them behind the scenes, and then we'll save some of the questions that kind of pertain to everyone for the end of the webinar, just so everyone can hear the answers to those questions. But if you do have any questions, let us know. We are recording this webinar. So for those of you that might ask for slides or you might ask for a copy of the presentation, we will be uploading it to our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube, it's TorontoJobs.ca. We have amazing sessions and content that we upload almost every day, from events that we do, from career coaches giving advice on job search. So if you're interested in learning more or you have questions about job search, our YouTube channel is full of content. So we will upload this presentation to our YouTube channel. Again, it's TorontoJobs.ca. I'll put a link in the chat as we go along here as well, so you can subscribe. And I will pass it over to you, Marc, for your presentation. Again, if you have any questions, please place them in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. And I'll come back towards the end when we're going to do questions and help Marc facilitate that and answer any questions that I can as well. So again, thanks for being here. I'll pass it over to Marc, and I'll see you soon.
Well, thanks so much, Rachel. Well done. And, I want to thank you for all you do to put these events on and getting the team together to promote it and so on. So really appreciate everybody taking the time to watch. And hopefully I can give you as much information as possible. But I do want to thank you, Rachel. We've been working together
absolutely.
for many years, and we make a great team. I always say that, and just wanted to say thanks for all you do. So
thank you. All right, I'll be back.
Okay, terrific. So, yeah, I am an accountant, so I get into the stats. I'm a bit of a chameleon in many respects. I'm accountant, I'm recruiter, business owner, and more. But my heart is certainly in accounting, which is where I got my cut my teeth, so to speak, and got into the really understanding of how business works in the business community. So we thought it would be a good idea to do this type of event. We do them every 2 to 3 months in terms of public accounting and what I'm seeing in public accounting. I work with a lot of public accounting firms, so I know a lot as to kind of what firms are looking for, what changes are taking place. Obviously, over the last year with COVID, it's changed the market and the dynamics of what a firm looks for. So I'm going to share during the course of the next 45, 50 minutes or so, a little bit about what I see in terms of the Canadian labor market overall, and just share with you a very high level summary. And then we'll talk about CPAs and public accounting, and then talk a little bit about how to find a job generally, forget about public accounting. And then we'll talk about what public accounting firms are specifically looking for, 10 characteristics that make a successful public accountant that I've seen over the years and more recently. And then we'll talk about jobs that we have at TorontoJobs.ca in public accounting that we are recruiting for that may interest you. And then we'll talk about upcoming events, and we'll take some questions after that. So lots to cover, and don't want to keep too much on one particular topic. I'm going to move fairly quickly through the different areas that I want to cover today. So let's talk state of the Canadian labor market. This is always an area that not only do I think is interesting, but it also helps you understand what is going on, what are the situations, what are the scenarios, and what's been going on. And it helps to focus also on the future as well, where we are going as well. So let's talk first off an overview of the job numbers overall in Canada. And this is not public accountants, this is just across the board state of the Canadian labor market. So we were humming along, as you probably know, in January, February of 2020. We had one of the lowest unemployment rates ever recorded in Canadian history at just over 5%. Then the pandemic hit. March and April, Canada lost 3 million jobs. We went up to the highest unemployment rate ever recorded in Canadian history at just over 13% in May of 2020. Then through the course of the year, between May and June and November, we actually had some pretty decent job creation overall. Even with the pandemic, things weren't maybe as bad as what initially was expected. So through those months, we had every month was actually a positive month. And then we kind of hit a roadblock in December and January. We lost about 260,000 jobs, which brought the employment rate to the lowest back to August. So we made a bit of a U-turn. And that partially had to do with the lockdowns that we had primarily in Ontario just after Boxing Day, if you remember. And then we did well in February. We increased by about 260,000 jobs. So we regained what we had lost in December, January. And then in March, we rose by another 300,000 jobs, and the unemployment rate dropped by 0.7% to 7.5%. So we're actually within 1.5% of our pre-COVID February levels from last year. So we're actually doing pretty well. Now, across Canada for the month of March, full-time employment increased by 175,000 and part-time increased by 128,000. And Statistics Canada that keeps these numbers, blends everything together, full-time and part-time jobs together as if they were one. Now, there's about 5 million Canadians that are working from home right now, and about 60% of those are technically doing it temporarily because of COVID. Now, obviously, we don't know what's going to happen as the pandemic eases and as the vaccines start coming out in terms of bringing people back to work or not. But right now, 5 million Canadians, which is a significant part of the workforce, is now working from home. Now, in Ontario, employment rose by 180,000 jobs, which accounted for 60% of Canada's increase in jobs in March. Now, we're at the end of April here, but we don't have the April numbers, and they won't come out until next week. And that will we'll find out what happened, how the current stay-at-home order, especially in Ontario, has affected the job numbers. But I do believe April numbers won't be as bad as what I would have expected at the beginning of this month, but because the job market seems to be picking up. Now, from a big picture perspective, and again, being a numbers guy, the number of people unemployed in Canada is about 1.7 million across Canada. The number working is 18.5 million people. And overall, the unemployment rate stands, as I said, 8.2%. The unemployment rate for women is 8%. The unemployment rate for men is 6.9%. And the unemployment rate for youth, which is the highest for all categories, is over 17%, which is really challenging, and it always is with the youth. And I'll talk about why that is shortly in terms of the industries. Now, across the country, the province with the lowest unemployment rate is Quebec. Newfoundland and Labrador is the highest unemployment rate at over 15%. Ontario is at 9.2%. Barrie, Ontario is the city with the highest unemployment rate across Canada at 13%. Victoria, BC is the city with the lowest unemployment rate across Canada at 5%, and Vancouver stands at 7.9% and Toronto at 11.1%. Now, not too bad, but again, it is improving, which is nice. Canadians working from home. At the height of the shutdown in April last year, just over 40% of people worked at least half their usual hours at home. Now, as the labor market improved during the spring and summer, that percentage fell to 25%. Then as the number of COVID cases increased in fall, the percentage went up to 29%. And if you looked at the numbers in April when they come out, I suspect that the numbers again will be higher because of the stay-at-home orders from the Ford government, especially in Ontario. Now, the number of people working from home declined by 200,000 in February to 5.2 million. So the trend continues that people are continuing to work from home, but there are pockets of people that are going back to work. Now, CIBC just announced, and they usually set the tone for bigger companies. CIBC announced that they will keep workers home until September of 2021, and they will be adding flexible policies, and they plan to blend on-site and remote work once they're able to return. So we'll see, we expect to see that continues the stay-at-home situation over the course of the next little while. Now, immigration in Canada, the plans always have been to bring about 1.2 million immigrants over a 3-year period, being 2021, 2022, and 2023. Now, because of the pandemic, that is slowing down. Flights from India, Pakistan, other countries are being canceled. That's going to impact immigration. So it is a bit of a challenge, obviously, but the government really thinks that immigration is the way to go in terms of employment growth. And one of our former prime ministers, Brian Mulroney, said that he thinks Canada's population should grow to 100 million by the year 2100 in order to grow, but that most of that growth should come from immigration. And I didn't know this, but in 2019, immigration was responsible for more than 80% of Canada's population growth. So obviously a big number. But as the borders close, as planes get stopped and not as much travel, these numbers are going to be difficult to reach. Now, other information about what's happening. We have a situation in Canada where they are calling it, from a jobs perspective, a she-cession or a she-recession. And this is because the majority of the jobs that have been lost in Canada through this pandemic have been female. The industries hardest hit are predominantly staffed by women across Canada. And that includes travel, tourism, retail, food services, hospitality. So hence they call it the she-cession. Now, most of the jobs coming back are also proportionally about 60 to 65% are women. But in 2008 and 2009, we had a he-cession or he-recession. 60 to 65% of jobs lost back then, which was the financial credit crisis, if you might remember, were male dominated primarily within the manufacturing industry. So my fancy K that I have on my fancy Post-it note here is what we're experiencing is a K-shaped recovery. There's certain industries that are doing very well and have actually taken off during the pandemic. If you think of Amazon, Zoom, companies like that have done very well. And then industries that have been hardest hit are on the downside of this K. And these are industries, as I mentioned, hospitality, travel, tourism, retail, etc. These are particularly dominated, these jobs, not only by female, but they're also by youth, part-time workers, and vulnerable workers as well. So hence the youth unemployment rate has gone up significantly through this pandemic. And we are really into a K-shaped recovery. Hourly workers have been hit hard. People in restaurants, hospitality, those kind of industries have really been hit hard, and it has impacted the youth. Now, you probably already know as well that COVID-19 has hurt women's careers as well. And research from LinkedIn has found that female employees are being disproportionately more stressed than their male counterparts by work-related issues. In fact, 74% of women suffered from employment stress last month compared to only 57% of men, which is still high, but disproportionately impacting women. So in addition to that, I want to just spend a few more minutes just talking big picture. I'm just referring to the state of the Canadian labor market. If you're just joining, my name is Marc Belaiche. I'm president of TorontoJobs.ca, and I'm going over the state of the Canadian labor market. Before I get right into the public accounting industry and the public accounting sector and what you can do to find a job and grow your career within the sector. So it is obviously damaging to a lot of careers right now, what's happening. The Global Economic Prospects Report for 2021, the World Bank indicated that a fear of lingering impact from the virus is going to be causing a lost decade when it comes to jobs, careers, and so on. It not only is damaging the economy, but it's also affecting the economic activity, commercial activity, job losses, and so on. So it's obviously a different time right now. Now, I do hear from a number of recruiters, it's either slow on hiring, organizations are holding steady, or it's hard to find candidates, or it's steady with not a lot of movement. I talked about industries that have been hit hard. Public accounting, on the flip side, because of all the changes with Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, rent subsidy, hard to get information, changes, legislative changes and all that. It's actually been an industry that has actually done well during this time, but it's definitely a unique world right now. It's nothing like we've ever seen. I mentioned about people working from home, but there's a lot of interesting recruiting and HR issues that are going on as well. Not only people interviewing remotely, people working from home and how to onboard them, how to create a culture when people are working from home, decisions about when to bring people back to the office. I saw this article yesterday where a restaurant said to somebody that you can't come back, we're terminating you because you didn't get your vaccine shot. So the US is much more tilted or slanted towards the employer, whereas Canada is a little bit more tilted or slanted towards the employee in terms of protection. And they have at-will laws which allow employers to really do effectively whatever they want. But in this particular case, they gave their employees 90 days to get the vaccine. One particular person didn't want to do it, so she was terminated. So it's interesting times. But how do you demonstrate or maintain a culture when everyone is working remotely? Can an employer force someone to return to work, and an employer force somebody to take the vaccines? So lots of really interesting HR topics going on right now, and recruiting that it has impacted us. So I'm going to turn now to some interesting facts about CPAs and public accounting, and then now we're going to go into the depths of public accounting and jobs. The list of the largest CPA firms in Canada: Deloitte is number 1, KPMG number 2, PwC is number 3, and Ernst & Young number 4. So hence the big 4: Deloitte, KPMG, PwC, Ernst & Young. And then beyond that, the medium-sized firms: Grant Thornton, MNP, BDO, and Collins Barrow. If you are old enough like me to remember, at one point it was not the big 4, it was the big 8. So different times now from back in the 90s when I was doing my public accounting, getting my public accounting experience. Now, some other interesting facts about CPAs in general across Canada. There's 217,000 members now between provincial and national Canadian accounting organizations. And that was within the unification that happened a number of years ago for the CPA designation. And in October 2013, CPA Canada signed an agreement to merge with the Certified General Accountants of Canada, CGA Canada, which occurred on October 1st, 2014, and that completed the integration of the country's national accounting body. So we are now 7 years since the merger of the three designations. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, there was CGA, CMA, and CA before, and now they've merged. So that's why you see people that have CPA, CA, like myself, or CPA, CMA, or CPA, CGA. And I believe it's after 10 years, which would take us probably until 2024, that everyone will just start using a uniform CPA instead of CPA CA or CPA CMA or CPA CGA. So let's talk about what it takes to find a job in the current market. I'm really big on figuring out what you want to do. If you can figure out what you want to do, you are 90% of the way there. Now, people go through jobs and go through their lives and they kind of stumble onto careers sometimes. Sometimes they stumble onto opportunities. Sometimes they stumble onto jobs. I always kind of make a joke that people spend more time planning their vacation or planning their grocery list than they do on their career. But you spend the majority of your time in a job. So really thinking about what you want to do. How many of you have a list of what you want to do, what you like to do? So first off, make a list of what you want to do. What should be on that list are things like the type of work, the people that you want to work with, the location. Do you want to work from home? Do you want to work from an office? Have a plan, what you want to wear, what you want to do, who you want to interact with. Do you want to be with a younger organization or a more established organization? Do you want to be with a smaller company with less employees or a larger company with more employees? These are the things that you really want to spend time thinking about what you want to do. Now, what it takes to find a job, you have to have an up-to-date resume. Make sure you have a resume that meets current standards as well. There's been a lot of changes recently about what should be on, what shouldn't be on. And I guess one thing that I think I just want to share with you is that I'm seeing more and more people put less and less information on their resumes about themselves, about where they are, where they live, what city they're in, how to get hold of people, their phone numbers. I see some resumes with just a name. Sometimes they don't even put any contact information. Well, so it's pretty hard for recruiters to get hold of you, but make it easy for people. Now, years ago, people would have their addresses and so on. In today's world, you don't need your address, but at least put your phone number, a link to your LinkedIn profile, your email address, and of course your name, and kind of where you are. Are you in Toronto? Are you in Vancouver? Whatever. Put something on there. Now, also, my third point on this is make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date and it's consistent with your resume in terms of what jobs you've had, what titles you had. Because one thing I do when I get a resume, I look at somebody's profile on LinkedIn, and if I see some discrepancies, it right away raises red flags. So make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date and consistent with your resume. Now, joining relevant LinkedIn groups as well. And I'm going to post some in the chat right now so that you can join these ones as well. Because I think it's important for you to have some visibility as well. So I run the Chartered Professional Accountants Canada LinkedIn group. You might want to join that. Really easy to do. It's free, of course. The Toronto Chartered Professional Accountants group. I'm also manage that. I'm on the owner of that. So you want to join that. The Halton Peel CPA Ontario Association group on LinkedIn. And even if you're not in Halton Peel, it's okay. You connect with other people. We're a very extremely connected world right now in terms of jobs, recruiters, and so on. And then the Canadian Finance and Accounting Professionals group. So again, I'm just putting it in the chat here. You can join the group at your convenience as well. Next point I want to share is about getting into the hidden job market. Now, if you're not sure what the hidden job market is, these are jobs that are never advertised. So for example, if you think of your last job and how you got it, maybe you got it through a friend, maybe it was a referral, maybe it was a family member, maybe it was a previous coworker or previous manager that got you that position. Statistics generally indicate that 80% of jobs approximately are found through the hidden job market in normal times. 80% of jobs are found through the hidden job market in normal times. We're not in normal times. I would probably say that in today's pandemic world, that 90% or more jobs are found through the hidden job market. So you want to build your network, you want to build your contacts. There's a lot of accountants who are shy about promoting themselves or are not visible or make themselves visible, make themselves connectable, if that's a word, with recruiters or potential prospects. So you want to connect with people as much as possible. I always say your network is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. And today I heard one, your network is the way to get work as well. So two different sayings, hopefully that keeps it into perspective as well. Now, if you are already at a firm, talk about any internal opportunities that might be available there. And, when I was younger and junior, and I was scared to death of being with partners and afraid if they went one way, I'd be going the other way. But as I'm older now, I realize that partners will help you in your career as well. They're there to coach, they're there to mentor. I was afraid that the moment I said anything about potentially leaving, that maybe I'll be terminated. In all my years, in my 25 years of experience, I've never seen that when someone comes to their partner or manager and asks them about opportunities that they get fired. I've never heard that. So if you can get over that hurdle and that fear of talking to people at your firm, partners, managers, or otherwise, senior managers, they might have some opportunities that you might be interested in. Perhaps there's opportunities with a client. Perhaps there's opportunities within their networks as well. So make their networks your networks as well. The next point I want to share is getting a coach or an advisor or a recruiter to help you. There's a lot of people, you try to do it yourself. And like anything, even whether you're sports or otherwise, you have coaches, advisors, business people have advisors to help them get through issues. So get a coach, get an advisor, get somebody trusted that maybe it's an owner of a company, maybe it's a recruiter within your area of expertise, maybe it's a coach, whatever it is. There's lots of career coaches out there. There's resume professionals, resume writing professionals that can help you in your career. Recruiters tend not to be your coaches. They're looking to fill positions. If we're talking about staffing firms, they tend to work with their clients to find people for their clients. So they look for candidates for their positions. They're not there really to coach. They're not really there to be your advisor. If you can connect with a recruiter who can be your coach and you're comfortable with them, by all means, go for it. But there's other people that do this for a living. Now, you're welcome to connect with me. I have no problem if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, if you want to send me a message, if you want to give me a call, you want to chat about something, not a problem at all. The next point I want to share is about knowing what you're good at. Having a good understanding of your strengths is really important for you to know which direction your career might take you. Maybe you're good in tax. Maybe you're interested in going down a different path. We have a client that specializes in valuations, and they look for people out of public accounting who want to get into valuations, people that want to do their chartered business valuator or become a chartered business valuator or a CBV. So if maybe you're looking at one of those areas of specialization, tax, could be forensic accounting, could be valuations. There's a lot of great areas to specialize in afterwards, but know what you're good at. Really understanding what you're good at will help you find that path and will also give you some better direction as to what kind of job you should be looking at. So I said earlier, make a list of what you want to do. Well, maybe that kind of specialization is also on your list as well. Doing something you love. This is my biggest point. I'm so big into as I've gotten older, I'm so much into finding something that you really love because you'll work harder, you'll enjoy your time a lot more. Was I enjoying audit when I was doing it? Yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, did I love it? It wasn't bad. Like, I enjoyed the work, but now I love the work that I'm doing. And if you can find something that you love to do, you're going to be super happy every day that you're going to work. So doing something that you love, and that starts with making a list of what you're looking for, because how are you going to know if you love it until you start making that list? Next comment I'd make is, don't get discouraged. With everything going on right now, the job market has really been turned upside down. So don't get discouraged. It might take you longer to find that perfect job. It might take you longer to find another position. And if you're not working, it might take you longer than what you had expected. It's just where we are right now. But don't let short-term hurdles and issues make it more challenging for you to find what you love. Really think of the future and where things are going. And during this time period, you may need to pivot your career. If you're not getting what you're really looking for, you may need to change. If you're not working right now and you need to make a change, you might want to pivot your career. You might want to go a different direction. Just what people do. Companies go through it. Over the last year, companies have rerouted, they pivoted. That was the word catchphrase last year about pivoting. Well, that also applies to people, individuals, not just companies. So think of it, maybe you got to repivot your career. Maybe the job that you anticipated, maybe the career path that you were going on isn't there anymore. You have to change. And obviously, the virtual workforce is on right now. I mentioned about 5 million Canadians working at home right now, huge number. It's going to change the way business works and how people are working as well. So I want to share with you, and I'm going to put these in the chat as well, the top 10 characteristics of successful professionals in public accounting that I have seen. Now, success, it means different things to different people. I mean, success is in the people that have reached, not just partner, and I'm not talking about partner, but the best of the best in terms of what they have been doing in public accounting. So I'm going to share these tips. I'm going to put them in the chat as well, but I'll read them out here as well. So number one is they work hard and they make themselves available. So these are the top 10 characteristics of successful professionals in public accounting. For the ones that I see, they work hard. And public accounting is a tough profession, it's a tough industry, it's a tough scenario. Now, what I'm saying is they work hard. They work harder than most people do in general, but the ones that are successful in public accounting work harder than the average person. Number two is they want continuous improvement and they take constructive feedback. So if someone tells them, a partner says, your files need to be improved, your skills, your tax knowledge has to be improved, they take that feedback and they continue to improve. Those are the people that do the best, from what I've seen in public accounting. Number three, they have strong listening and communication skills. They listen, the old adage about having 2 ears and only 1 mouth, you listen twice as much as you talk. Really listening well and communicating well. And if you're not good in communication, you want to improve upon that. And like over the last year or so, we've all had to move into boxes. We're all working, for those of you that are working from home, you know that we've become little broadcasters and we're all in this little box, and this box represents us now. It's not a question of how your handshake is, how you sit across, your body language and so on. It's about how you act within this box of yours. So really think of how you portray yourself. And it's amazing when I'm interviewing accountants, I'm interviewing public accountants, or really just people in general, they don't think of how they come across or what their communication style looks like. So critique yourself, record yourself on Zoom, look into the camera. These are the things that will make you more successful within public accounting. Number four, if you're in a leadership position in public accounting, you can coach and mentor staff. Really important. Partners always tell me this, that the managers and senior managers, as they progress, they're really coaching their staff and mentoring their staff. And they say, wow, it's amazing how that person has really got a great team and everybody's rallying around that person. Not pointing the finger, well, they didn't do this or they didn't do that, really coaching and mentoring and uplifting their staff. Now, number 5, I kind of mentioned this already, but we'll listen to constructive feedback. It's not just taking constructive feedback, but also listening and implementing on that feedback. Number 6 kind of goes without saying in a way, because you think, well, accountants should know this, but a deep knowledge of and understanding of accounting systems, whether it's tax prep, whether it's QuickBooks, Caseware, whatever the case may be, really a good deep understanding of those accounting systems, not only within the firm, but also for their clients as well. And then alongside the same one, number 7 is strong technical accounting and financial background. It kind of goes without saying, but continuous PD, continuously learning, continuously growing, taking courses and so on. Not just because you have to do it because of CPA, Ontario or PD requirements that you might have in your province, but because of this is what you want to do. Now, this is number 8 is enthusiastic or enthusiasm. It is just amazing how many public accountants aren't enthusiastic about the work that they do. They come across as not loving it. They come across as disliking it, in fact, because of their body language or their communication style. So show some enthusiasm. You might show it in different ways. You might show it by smiling. You might show it by talking excitedly about what you do or about your job, but it may not come across that way. So think about how you're coming across, because the people that are enthusiastic about their roles in public accounting tend to attract their partners' attentions, tend to get opportunities within firms. Number 9, I already talked about this. I touched on this, strong network. Your network is your net worth. People who have been successful in public accounting that I've seen have used their network to get opportunities. Maybe they got to move to another firm. That could be the case. Maybe the opportunities might not be there within your firm. Last year, I was really working with someone who was in a small firm. It was a sole proprietor firm, 2 staff. She was one of the 2 staff, and she wanted to get to a larger firm. She wanted to get to one of the bigger firms, one of the Big Four. And I said, it really is fairly hard to make a switch from a really, really small firm to go to a Big Four. Generally speaking, you have to go to a mid-level firm and then go to a bigger firm. Or if you're with a big firm and you want to go to a small firm, you got to kind of take steps down to medium-sized firm and then smaller firm. Generally speaking, with recruiters, it usually works that way, that a recruiter will help you make that one step from small to medium, or medium to large, or large to medium, medium to small. Generally, it's hard to go from a large to a small, or a small to a large. So keep that in mind. But using your network will give you opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise take. And I want to share this story as well, that as a recruiter, having been involved with recruiting so much, and by the way, I wrote this book called Tales from the Recruiter. You can visit talesfromtherecruiter.ca. You can read it online for free. You can order a hard copy of the book if you want as well at the website, but talesfromtherecruiter.ca. But I talk about in the book how recruiters will take orders. They'll say, okay, what are you looking for? And companies will say, yeah, we're looking for people with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of experience, whether it's years of experience, a certain skill, a certain this, that, whatever. But when it comes to the hidden job market and finding jobs through that job market, those 5 disappear. Maybe you only have 2 or 3 of those criteria that they're looking for, but because you know somebody and you're connected, that gets you a job. So keep that in mind. And the number 10, final, desire for continuous learning. Always wanting to learn, always taking that PD, going above and beyond the PD area. Now, let's talk about 10 things of what firms are looking for right now. And then I'm going to talk about some of the opportunities that we are working on. And then I'll share with you a whole bunch of great links and information about some upcoming events that you might be interested in. So 10 things of what firms are looking for. Number one, and I'm just going to list them out on here, people who can be flexible, work from home or the office. Some firms are full on, everybody's back at the office. Some are, everybody's at home. And the rest are a hybrid. Some are 2 days working from home, 3 days in the office, and the next week it's vice versa. Whatever your situation is, it is what it is. There's about a third right now. A third working from home 100% of the time, a third working in office 100% of the time, and a third are hybrid. Now we'll see how that plays out when the vaccines keep rolling out, the COVID cases stop. Will that continue? Firms are also looking for people who are motivated to grow, not just fill a position, but want to stay with the firm for a while. Next point is people who want to work hard. Now, it's been interesting. When I was younger and doing public accounting, you didn't book anything. When I was younger and articling and going through my years in public accounting, you really didn't book anything in terms of any social events, social activities. And over the years, that part hasn't left me as far as boomers go, as far as older employees go. But the younger employees are more about work-life balance. But the partners are about working hard. Some of them are my age, perhaps older. So keep that in mind, that the older partner is going to be looking for someone who's going to be working hard. And that is what firms are looking for right now. And then the next point is people that don't make excuses as well. Really easy to make excuses. Well, my computer, my this, I couldn't finish. Don't make excuses. Communication. Number 5, communication, very important right now. I talked about it earlier, but in terms of what firms are looking for, people that can communicate well. They're also looking for people with clean resumes and easy to read resumes. So make sure your resume is spotless. And next point is putting the firm ahead of themselves. Now, this is a hard one sometimes to wrap your head around, but you know, if you want to grow, if you want to become a partner, if that's your career path that you want to be in, you're putting the firm ahead of yourselves. It's more about what you're going to do for the firm rather than what the firm can do or will do for you. So the attitude has changed quite a bit from that perspective, really putting the firm ahead of themselves. Great references really play a big part in finding that job in public accounting. So make sure your references, make sure you have them, make sure they will say good things about you, and make sure that you can get in touch with them, and that recruiters or hiring firms will get in touch with them as well. Having a positive attitude, I already talked a little bit about that, and you know, really client focused. And I'll end with this segment, my top 10 tips on what firms are looking for. Really client focused, doing whatever you need to do to help clients of the firm. Really centering on the client. If you can focus on the client, doing a good job and having great relationship with the clients, not only will that do well for you from your career perspective, it will help your network and it will help your opportunities within the partners and the firm, because they will notice that you're really looking after the client's needs. So keep that in mind as well. Now, some of the jobs that we are looking for in our TorontoJobs.ca recruitment division. We are looking for a senior accountant with real estate knowledge in North York. I'm adding the link in the chat area. We're also looking for an audit manager in Markham, Ontario. Most of these jobs are in the Greater Toronto area. So if you're outside of the Greater Toronto area, you can still apply, because firms are now also more open to seeing people who might be across Canada too. So keep that in mind as well. If you are across Canada and you're looking for a job in Toronto, or really, you know, wanting to work remotely, connect with me. Feel free to connect with me, because firms are starting to open up a little bit more about working from home, working remotely, wherever that is. So we have that audit manager in Markham, Ontario. We also have a senior accountant with a firm in North York, and the link is in the chat. And then we also have a senior accountant or accounting manager position in Peterborough, Ontario, which is just about an hour and a half east of Toronto. So if you're thinking about maybe moving to a smaller town, maybe you've had enough, you're in Toronto, you want to move, or you're in a different city, and you're open to moving to Peterborough, Ontario, great town. by all means, reach out to me. They are definitely looking for a senior accountant or accounting manager. And then we also have a senior accountant role in Oakville, Ontario with the firm. We also have a staff accountant role in Richmond Hill, Ontario, which is about 1 hour, about half an hour, 45 minutes north of the downtown core in Toronto. And then finally, we also have kind of not specifically public accounting, but it is a controller role in accounting services. They're not a public accounting firm. They don't do audits and reviews or notice to readers, but they do accounting on behalf of their clients. So that position is in Richmond Hill, Ontario. Again, about 45 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes north of Toronto. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm putting my LinkedIn information on there as well. And you can sign up to our job mail and post your resume on TorontoJobs.ca as well. Recruiters use our job board to find candidates for their jobs. So check it out, post your resume online. You can sign up to job mail alerts so that you can get information sent to you directly in terms of job postings. Great way to use technology at its finest. Current jobs that we are recruiting for in our TorontoJobs.ca recruitment division. What you want to do is you want to visit TorontoJobs.ca. You can click on the recruitment division tab. And then select recruitment openings, and you can see the jobs that we have, and you can get all the links of the jobs that we have. Now, you can also email me your resume as well. I'm putting my email address in here as well. It's marc.belaiche, so first name dot last name at TorontoJobs.ca. You can send me your resume, tell me what you're looking for, and I'm happy to see if I can help you out. You can also text us. We're available 24/7, 289-206-1651 is the text line. Again, 289-206-1651. And our YouTube channel, we have lots of great videos. Last I checked, we have over 250 videos on everything from job search, interviewing tips, resume writing tips, job offers, and so on. So check that out. A lot of great, excellent content that you want to check out on YouTube. So again, our TorontoJobs.ca YouTube channel, great resource for postings. And my book, Tales from the Recruiter, again, talesfromtherecruiter.ca. You can check out the book for free. And we have a lot of great articles as well. And you can visit that by visiting TorontoJobs.ca/news. I know Rachel and the team do a fantastic job in getting articles up there and great content for you. It's of course all free to you to use as well. And I want to talk about our upcoming virtual events. Now, I talked about networking and net worth and network to get work and so on. Well, TorontoJobs.ca, we've been presenting events for years, PD days, job fairs, and so on. And when the pandemic hit, we moved to virtual. So if you're thinking, well, how do I connect with people in this type of environment during COVID? Well, this is the way. There's virtual conferences that we put on, and there's not many virtual conferences out there. Great way of connecting with people, great way of meeting people. Yes, you can meet them through LinkedIn, but it's slow. You send a connection request, maybe days later, maybe weeks later, maybe months later, maybe not at all, they connect with you. But that is slow, it's tedious, and it's not personal. With the virtual events, it's an opportunity for you to connect with people just like you would from in a live event. So I put in the link here, upcoming events that TorontoJobs.ca presents. And we present about 13, 14, 15 virtual events a month. Now I'm going to highlight some of the ones that you may want to go to, especially if you're a CPA or public accounting. We have on Tuesday, May 11th, the Canadian Virtual CFO Conference. Great way of networking with people, especially at the CFO level. If you're a student, on Wednesday, May 12th, we have the Student Career Conference, and I provided the link there. Now, you may be a fractional executive. Maybe you're thinking about working part-time, 3 days a week, or whatever the case may be. TorontoJobs.ca also presents the Canadian Fractional and Interim Executive Summit, and that happens on Tuesday, May 18th. Again, all these events you can connect at TorontoJobs.ca/news, but I'm highlighting the ones that are in particular for those of you in public accounting or accounting. Friday, May 28th is the Canadian Virtual Tax Conference. If you're interested in getting into tax or want to learn about tax, these are great ways of networking. The platform, we have speed networking areas, we have sessions, we have a trade show. Great way of connecting. Wednesday, June 9th, we host the Canadian Virtual CPA PD Day. Don't want to miss it. These are all eligible for PD, by the way. And you can check out eventlogic.ca if you're interested in sponsoring or exhibiting at one of these events, or if your firm or your organization might be interested. Again, eventlogic with a K.ca. Now, if you have any questions, you are you're certainly welcome to put them in. I know Rachel's going to come back shortly. I do also want to say, thanks to the team for arranging this. Of course, Rachel, Alex, Sandra, Sarah, and a lot of people are involved with putting these together. It might seem like, hey, just get on it on Zoom, but there's a lot of other things that happen behind the scenes, and I want to thank the team for putting that on as well. And also want you to stay safe. So we'll take some questions here. I'm sure Rachel will come back here shortly. If you have any questions, you can throw them in the Q&A area, and we can chat for the next 10 minutes or so, right, Rachel?
Perfect. Yeah, we have a couple questions coming in, so I will dive right in. That was a lot of links and info. I have nothing left to say, so you stole all the thunder. But yeah, we have lots of amazing resources and different ways you can connect with people, as Marc said. So we work hard at trying to help everybody be positive and get back into the job market if you've lost your job, or if you're in accounting, PD credits, as Marc mentioned. So we kind of have something for everyone. So it's been awesome connecting with people and connecting others. So all right, so I'll jump right into it. So we have a couple questions here. With the merger of the 3 legacy accounting organizations, has this led to the accounting industry becoming more of a commodity?
Oh, that's a loaded question. Yes and no. I mean, I think in the past, before the merger took place, there were certain types of people that went in through the CA stream in public accounting, and then you had the CMAs, and they were traditionally in manufacturing, and then you had CGAs that were a combination of people that were maybe new to Canada that had come over, and there were different levels, like levels 1 to 6, and people would go through that process. There's a certain element of truth, I would say, that once the merger took place and kind of everybody blended together, and you didn't need to do public accounting to get a CPA, which in the past you would have had to. It definitely changed it around a little bit. Everybody's kind of more uniform now, and I think they figured that in a 10-year period, everybody would really be blended together. And yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It's a deep question for sure. And I guess I would just comment that, somebody in public accounting, CPA versus CPA in industry, yeah, it is a commodity. It is a CPA. I mean, you still have your area CA, CMA, CGA, but over the years, those are going to blend in. And yeah, it's CPA. You either have it or you don't have it, and there's no real in-betweens. So I'll just leave it at that. How's that? I don't know if that's
tough too. So while CPA Canada and CPA Ontario have been successful in recruiting people into the accounting world, has this success led to a saturated labor market in accounting?
So there are certain pockets that are really, really challenging to find, even with CPAs. So you do have general accountants that, yes, there are a lot of them across the board. If it's just a general accountant, accounting manager, controller, yeah, there's an element that there's probably more people than is needed. But then there's specialization areas that are less saturated and harder to find people. And I would include tax. I mentioned about valuations and forensics earlier. Those are hard areas to find people for. So while I'd say certain areas are more saturated, I'd say others are more specialized and harder to find people. So it's not, even with the mergers and even with everybody kind of coming together, I'd say that that's not the case as much anymore either.
Perfect. So we have a couple more questions coming in, but so Marc, from your experience, I guess, with the pandemic, has anything changed in the current, market for accountants, or is it still kind of as usual recruitment, same volume of accounting roles? Like, have you noticed anything in terms of the last year and in terms of things shifting in the accounting world?
Yeah, it's a good question, and Rachel, you and I see this all the time too. And there's always changes. There's every day there's shifting. There's changes within the accounting industry, changes within all industries. New skills are coming on that we didn't have before. QuickBooks. When I talk to some firms are still on the QuickBooks desktop version as opposed to the QuickBooks Online. A lot of public accounting firms don't like the QuickBooks Online version, and others really love it. So there's always changes going on. I think you have to always be anticipating where things are going, what skills are in demand, and how you're going to change your career, how you're going to pivot your career to move ahead. I think like anything, I mean, Rachel, even in your job, I mean, over the years, and we talk about this, you're always learning something new. There's always some changes going on, that whether it's accounting, IT, there's always changes, and really, being in the loop as to what's happening, talking to your partners, if you're in public accounting, speaking with the partners, if you're in industry, talking to the people that are there, coming to our CFO events. We do a controllers event as well, virtual event. Really, staying in tune, reading a lot, reading the CPA magazine, what's happening, what are the trends. So, maybe Rachel, you can talk a little bit about, the changes and how you accommodate. You've switched on your side as well, right? I mean, you've adapted to the changes in the marketplace. What do? You read a lot, you research.
A lot. It's, in the marketing world, you've got the evolution of social media, and, all of a sudden TikTok becomes a massive success overnight. And it's, now you've got to figure out how to make videos, how to make people laugh, because everybody wants these short videos that are comical. But how do you do that from a business standpoint when you're kind of all business every day? So does it make sense? You've got to evaluate. It might not even make sense for your business to do that. You've got Facebook, and you've got Instagram, and you've got all these different people on all these different platforms, and it's appealing to all these different demographics. And when you're a company like Toronto Jobs, you appeal to all these demographics. So you've got to be really ahead of the curve in terms of being where your demographic is, knowing, the features of all these platforms. And I always say marketing, and, I don't know if accounting is the same way. I'm not an accountant by any stretch, but it shifts so much. Like, it's every day there's something new in the marketing world. You should be doing this, or you should be doing that, or this new thing came out. And it's so important, whatever field you're in, to stay on top of the trends and read a lot. I subscribe to a lot of stuff, not so much by email anymore, but you can subscribe to different blog content and get notified when there's a post, or, like you're saying, read CPA's website or their updates, or sign up to newsletters so that you're aware of what's happening, because things change so quickly, especially now. Companies are pivoting so quickly. Some companies have had to completely change their business models. So
yeah. Well, and, firms as well, like they've gone, some firms are still paper oriented. A lot of firms have shifted to paperless, but there are a lot of firms that are still paper. And I've seen many. I go into offices, and there's a big room, and they have file folders, and they're all hard copy type things. So definitely, shifting landscape with technology as well. The technological changes, we didn't talk about that too, but all those changes there. Every day there's something new happening, and you got to keep up with it as well. I also wanted to mention, Rachel, because I didn't mention earlier, I know we're short on time, but we have those PD packages available that I'm putting the link in to the event Logic with a K.ca, our PD packages that we have available for people. It's very inexpensive PD, but we give PD certificates as well for those that join, and you can come to our events and provide that. I'm not sure if you were going to mention that as well, Rachel. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's good. If you put the link in there, that's great.
Yeah.
We have one more question. Maybe we can sneak it in. So
Sure.
You mentioned specialty areas of accounting are doing better for employment opportunities. Besides tax and forensics that you mentioned, what other specialty areas have a lot of roles to fill?
Yeah. Well, I would say, public accounting in general is strong. And for whatever reason, so for many years in the recruiting industry, public accounting firms were not an area that we would get business from. Public accounting was the firms did it themselves. They were able to find lots of people, students and otherwise. And there are lots of students still available in that for public accounting. There's still students that want to get in. But when you get into that more of the senior accountant to maybe senior manager or manager area, that area is really strong too. There's not a lot of people that have experience, and if they are in a firm, they don't want to leave to go to another firm. So if you're in a firm and you're in that area, make sure to reach out to me, because we have a lot of opportunities in that range. As far as accounting in general, there's always controller positions, there's always accounting manager positions, there's always CFO roles or whatever. But when we're talking specifically public accounting, that mid-range, senior accountant to senior manager, is a real hot area where there's lots of opportunities if you have that experience.
Perfect. Well, we're at 7:01.
Should get rolling, right?
Sorry, we went a little over time, but just want to thank Marc. That was a lot of content, a lot of links. You can scroll through our chat here, and there's links to all of our events, links to all of our jobs that we're looking to fill. I put a couple links here, but they're a little lost in the shuffle. I'll send another message just with the link to our additional upcoming events and webinars, so you can register for those. And if anyone has any questions, Marc, did you put your LinkedIn profile in here?
Yeah, it's you got to scroll up a little bit to get there. There's a lot of links there, but
yeah, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn, where we've been weathering the pandemic. Obviously, our business has been affected by it too. So everyone's kind of doing their part and doing what they can, but we're happy that we can connect anyone that we can through our platform and our events and things like that. And we do a lot of Facebook stuff. Join us on our YouTube channel. As Marc mentioned, we have over 200 videos of assistance for job search and lots of different topics and areas of expertise and help, and lots of career coaches and recruiters and people giving advice. So everybody's been really awesome at providing content, and we're really trying to help as many people as we can in their job search. So thanks so much, Marc, for today, and thank you guys for attending. We really appreciate you being here, and we hope to see you at our next event.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a good afternoon.